say anything to you at the?
No.
Yeah, I called a couple times because we've done this before.
Uh-huh.
And this is Jeff. Jeff, this is Don.
Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
We've done this before at different hotels, like just right in Springfield, though. And
Right.
I'm like, I'd hate to have you come on, give you a pinpoint, and us and then to say, oh, you need permission or this and that. So I kept calling, and the people at the front desk were like, it'll be fine. Like I was kind of over worrying or something.
Perfect.
Where's best to sit, you think?
I'm just gonna try this. Right there, and right there, you're good right there.
And you want me where?
Are you okay over there, or do you want to get closer?
Yeah, if that's, I mean, is that not the
You
good?
can just set the camera up, then we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that sounds good. So how was your drive here? Was it okay?
Oh, not bad at all.
No?
Not
Okay.
bad at all.
How long did it take you?
Only about half an hour.
Oh, good.
And, well, I had to call because they changed the street name and it wasn't coming up. That's the problem.
That's what happened to us then.
That must
So I'm
have
like,
been, yeah.
I just wrote it down last night. I thought I was being so efficient.
Right, right.
That's what it was then, okay. Because when I talked to Joe, right, or emailed with Joe, your coordinator, he was like, oh, would you like her to come to your studio or you want to? I'm like, no, it just would seem so much easier to meet somewhere.
Right.
in the
No, I
middle,
really appreciate
you know,
that.
So I
Saves me
appreciate
at least half an hour.
Yeah,
an hour.
exactly. Yeah, it took us an hour,
Yeah,
right? Pretty
yeah.
much.
About an hour.
But that's better for us than an hour and 40 minutes to get all the way to
Right,
your place. So, you know what? I'll just have you do is put that up in your jacket and I'll put it on your towel. It's hard when you're looking down at yourself. And then if you want to just, you can put that in your pocket or your waistband, whatever is most comfortable.
So, how long have you been with Channel 40?
I've been with 40 for actually a year.
Oh, okay. I thought
before-
you might have been fairly new.
Yeah. With them I'm new, but with in news I've been in news for a long time. I worked in Connecticut for like 7 years, and then we had big layoffs and cutbacks, and
Yeah.
so then I was home for a while. But I had 2 young kids, so it was actually turned out to be good timing, I guess.
We
and
just
then-
adopted yesterday.
You did?
Yes,
Oh my
a
gosh.
foster to adopt. Yes.
Oh, so he or she's already been living with you?
Yes,
Oh,
and she was 10 months old.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so.
Oh my gosh, being a foster parent is so.
Yeah, and she almost went back.
Yeah. Oh, so was it a fight
To
to keep 2 dogs?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Oh, good for you. How old is she now?
2.5.
Oh, that's such a cutie.
I know.
Is she your only one?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, that must be so exciting.
Yeah. Great Mother's Day gift.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good for you. So is this, I guess we'll have to do some background and stuff, but is this your first writing experience or do you have
Yes.
other?
This is my first published article in a book. I
Okay.
have other articles that are online.
Oh, okay. All right. Have you done this before? Interviews?
Yes.
Okay. I was
Yes.
gonna say, just look at me and try and be yourself. And
Right.
tell me, first of all, like a little bit about yourself to begin with. You're a career/life coach.
Correct.
How long have you been doing that?
8 years.
8 years.
And then
okay.
prior to that, I was a recruiter, so I placed people in jobs, specifically sales, marketing, advertising, and creative types.
Okay. So tell me, as a life/career coach, what exactly do you do in that line of work?
Well, I had my practices by choice split 50-50. I had 50% job changers / career, job seekers / career changers, and the other 50% are small business owners. What typically happens is a lot of my job seekers have an inkling or a desire to start their own company. So I find that having those two is a great entry point for people who do want to start their own business.
Okay, so people basically come to you as a guide or coach.
Correct.
Okay.
And primarily we're working, let's say in the job search, whether it's a career change or a job search, we have a mix of people who are unemployed and people who are employed. And the whole process is to help them to reduce the amount of time excuse me, that they're in a job search. So for every $10,000 you want to make equal about 1 month in a job search. Typically I'm working with people who are somewhere between 80,000 base up to $350,000.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can take for 1 month, the average could be 8 months or longer. We've been, with the Bridge program, we've been tracking that people have reduced that in half. Even without, let's say for example, even with, I had worked with someone who was a career changer, and she wanted to get back into technology, and she was about 8 years out of the technology field, and within 4 months was able to land a position back where she wanted to be, which was truly amazing. She busted her butt in networking and helping people, and was able to, really land the right position.
So tell us about the bridge theory,
Bridge, well, I call it bridge method, bridge
okay.
process.
Okay.
Well, it's an acronym which stands for 6 different steps that are dynamic. So the B stands for become clear. Well, typically people don't, when they come to hire me, they're not 100% clear. So then we go to the R and do research. In the research, we do internal research and external research. So to help them to identify who are their target companies. The more specific you can be, the better your network can be for you, as well as the more confident you're going to come across. Because today, people are just saying, well, I just want a job. It's really not going to work, and sometimes people are turned off by that. So as I identify who are your target companies, then I tell to the client, send me the list of target companies. I said I can't promise, but I'll look at who your target companies are and try to double that. And then D, develop your contacts. Again, can't promise, but one of the things that I think separates me from other coaches is that I'm able to introduce them to people, be it for an informational interview, just a networking contact, or an actual interview. So that's the development, their contact piece. And then G is getting a game plan. How are you going to approach your job search? We focus a lot on networking, giving them strategies to tap into the hidden job market, working with them on their resume, their cover letters, and other strategies that will help. And the E is to execute and evaluate. So as they're going through research, they may go back to becoming clear, and then to identifying a new set of companies, and developing new contacts, and readjusting through their evaluation process the game plan.
So and how many folks have you worked with that have done this, you've applied this method?
Well,
like would you say dozens or just a few or?
Hundreds.
Oh, hundreds.
Hundreds,
okay.
because I've been working this process for, I'd say at least 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I range anywhere from working with about 20 clients throughout a monthly basis. And some stay for three months, some stay for 6 months. The average right now, job seeker category or career change, is anywhere from 4 to 6 months.
Okay. And what about for the job seeker? Someone who's been laid off, and obviously, the unemployment numbers are still high. Is this applicable to for someone who's been laid off and is just looking?
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that I find that helps is in the research phase, I teach people how to use and maximize social media. And not just, let's say, for example, you have to really think for your network to say, do you know anyone who's hiring, really isn't going to get you very far. But if you say specifically, do you know someone who works for, and then you say a specific company like HP or IBM or whatever their target company is, then they can get more specific. Do they know someone within that company that would be the hiring manager? And they might say the director of client services or the EVP creative director.
So that kind of just goes to show it's a little bit of who you know, like having a...
Exactly.
And that means just kind of racking your brain and networking and who you can reach out to. That's essentially...
Well, 80% of all jobs filled are filled through networking and 20% through ads. What happens is the job seeker gets really frustrated because they're sending out their resume to the black hole, and when they follow up, they get the standard follow-up. You're going to have much better, more success, shall I say, when you find someone specific to hand your resume. Now, granted, you're going to have to go back and fill out the online application as part of their procedure anyways, but at least now your resume or your name has been seen twice. And today, with the job market being the way it is, and just marketing in general, it takes 21 times to see something before people take action. And by now, that's probably increased because we're so bombarded with information and resumes.
Mm-hmm. Now, has it changed in the years, though, in terms of like having that connection? Because I remember when I was unemployed I talked to someone, ironically, who worked at Aetna. He'd been there for like 20 years. He's like, unfortunately, Trish, it doesn't work that way anymore, where you can just take your resume and say, oh, here's someone I know. Like, it's so, the whole online process, does that hinder that?
Sometimes, but again, it depends on who you know, and there's the balance between being professionally persistent and a pain in the butt.
Yeah, what is the fine line between that? How do you tell people?
Well, I tell people that if you're going to follow up, I mean, I think it's appropriate to follow up at least once a week or every couple of weeks. If you start to do more than that, depending on the conversation that you're having, you then become an urgent.
Is following up important? Like
very important, very important. Even though sometimes they say don't follow up specifically, or we don't take phone calls or no phone calls, there are other ways that you can follow up. And these are some of the strategies that we talk about in the Get a Game Plan phase of the bridge. The whole purpose of the bridge is to bridge the gap in your job search by at least half.
Now, for the people who are out there and they are getting frustrated, and is there any one message you give them, like, or one of the most important tips for someone, like, I'm just thinking for our viewers who are sitting watching thinking, oh yeah, I've been looking for a job for months, what's the first step you tell people to do?
Well, depending on where they are, so I will, as far as the process, I will have them send me a few of their job descriptions so I have a better idea. But it's to do some other things that will help to keep your attitude upbeat, your mindset. So that may, continuing to do your exercise, continuing to do, have and use stress relievers, and to have a really clear idea. Sometimes I have clients do a day or a week in a life of what your ideal position is, so at least they have a goal. So, and again, depending on the client, we may incorporate other things that will help keep them inspired about the job search, or do other things that will help keep them motivated.
Okay. And in how did you end up in this book? Did you know this author?
No, I did not. Well, I take that back. The people who published the book, selfgrowth.com, they were a guest on my radio show.
Oh, okay.
And I have kept in touch with them. When they were coming to put the book together, you still have to go through an application process in order to be approved. So it was a real honor to be published alongside Brian Tracy and Tori Johnson and other Charlotte Weeks and other career experts. And I'm really happy.
Yeah, how long ago did the book come out?
Just last month.
Oh, okay. Have you gotten much feedback from it because of your input in this book?
Yes, and other interviews, as well as different speaking engagements where I've been able to share the bridge process itself with alumni or organizations, nonprofit as well as for-profit organizations who are looking for speakers to help people who are in a career change or in a job search. Or sort of, there's a mix sometimes of people who want to start their own business.
What do you think is the biggest concern or the biggest question or the most helpful piece of information you could give to any of our viewers who are in the unemployment searching phase right now?
Well, the biggest tip that I can give them is that you definitely should be networking and spending a good amount of your time going to networking. It's great if you're going to events, but if you're not following up with people and building relationships, it's about the relationship piece. That, again, like I said, 80% of all jobs filled are filled through networking and 20% through ads. So it's always a mix. I'm not saying don't stop applying for jobs, but use your network. And I think the other thing is you have to also offer to help them to do something. One of the things I learned with some of my networking groups is that it's a give and take situation.
And when you say networking, for people who don't know, like what means of networking should they be doing? Should they be going out to events? Should they just be talking about it with everyone they run into?
Well, yes, sometimes I do recommend they do talk to people that they run into. In fact, one of my clients ended up getting a position because he informed his neighbor that he was looking for a position, and to go to events that are industry specific, where you're going to run into potentially your hiring manager or your colleague or associate. So again, that I in being identifying and specifically targeting. If you want to be in advertising, well, you go to the ad club. If you want to be a meeting planner, then go to a meeting planner association type meeting. So look at the industry specific where you're going to find your potentially hiring manager. And also meetup.com sometimes. I mean, they have everything from knitting to entrepreneurial to specific groups for marketers or for startups. That may be another. And a lot of them are free or little to no cost.
What, like a website? Meetup? What do you call it?
Meetup.com has different events where people get together. There's other groups where job seekers tend together. You can start your own buddy group. You can start your own job search networking with other people and collaborate with them to help each other in the job search. And I think that's another thing that helps to keep people motivated. When you're all alone out in the job search, slowly but slowly your standards start to lower, and so does your confidence. So I think that's one of the other things that I bring to my clients is to help them, look at what are some of their accomplishments and how they can, keep their spirits up and their attitude up. Because it's like a dog that smells fear. When you go into an interview and you're in that desperation place, it's not appetizing, if you will. And do I want to hire someone who's so eager?
Yeah.
Usually not. It doesn't work that way.
That's a very good point. And you can get that way after a while.
Yes.
It sounds to me, and it felt like to me, that would you say looking for a job is, as they say, a full-time job, if not more?
Yes, it is. And you have to look at who else you can network with or work with. So I give my clients a questionnaire and ask them, who do you have on your team or your success team? Build a team around you. We're going to reach out to old bosses, find a mentor, go back to your alumni network. You might be surprised there are a lot of opportunities within that. You can use your college as what we call a third-party endorsement or a third-party to make it a warm call. It's something that you have in common. So if you graduated from UMass, you join their directory or their alumni association and reach out to find out who is working in your target companies that work with UMass. Now you have something in common there.
Right. Okay. I know we covered a lot. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that I didn't ask that is important, you think, to know?
I think that it's to be patient and to be persistent and to not for them to not necessarily lower their standards, and then maybe to also look for something that could be temporary, that at least what I say cuts the financial bleeding for people, so that you can then maybe temp or do something contract or freelance to get your foot in the door. That's another part of the strategy that I found that's really helpful. And sometimes one of the biggest factors that I see with people, particularly in that third age, there is technically no such thing as an age discrimination, but it has been a factor. And one of the things that I think is the biggest hindrance for people is they're not up to date with technology. And that's one of the critical factors that I see with people, be it social media or if you're in IT or if you're in design, whatever it is, you need to be up to date with technology. So do go back and consider getting additional education so that you can keep your skills up to date. I would say that is one of the really important things that people are missing the boat on.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I think you touched on this, but I'm not sure. But I just had a friend who applied for a job. He's like, what do you do when it says no cause, like in big bold print? Like, do you still what do you phone call after you send your application?
Well, so in that case, it depends. Sometimes I would, and other times I might send a letter, or I might say, look for some PR type related information, or what has this company done recently, and send them a copy congratulating them. Then your name gets gets in front of them again. So now your name has been seen by this company 3 times, and this is another way of building your brand. Because today, there's no such thing as job security. You have to create it yourself and have to consider yourself and think of yourself as a brand. And that's a whole nother story of what you can do with online and offline resources to get yourself attention. And I have seen people who have used Twitter to get a job. Now, specifically, they have been looking to and have worked in the social media arena. So that would be one avenue. It depends on the industry that you're targeting.
And I like your phrase about stop the financial bleeding with a temporary job or a part-time job or a freelance job. That people shouldn't be too quick to turn their nose up at, right?
Exactly.
Because that can, go ahead.
You never know where the opportunity is going to lead you. So I had worked with a person a couple of years ago who was in a position very underpaid, and she left to take a full-time position with benefits and left to take a contract position in a well-known company, and almost 3 years later is still there. So you never know where that could lead to and who you're going to be able to run into or meet with, or how you're going to be able to demonstrate your skills, or perhaps gain another accomplishment that you can use to leverage yourself into your ideal company.
So stay open-minded.
Yes.
It's funny because that's exactly how I got my job here. They're like, well, we could use your freelance. And I'm like, well, that's not ideal, but I need something. And then sure enough, a couple months later, they were asking me to sign on for a contract and whatever. So I'm living proof of what you just said.
Well, and it all started 8 years ago when I was working for an agency, and a gentleman who was an executive producer came to me with literally a 9-page resume. So I tested it, I packaged him, he wanted to be in new media. So I said, okay, well, you need to have an online portfolio, you need to have samples. I coached him on how to pitch himself for freelance. I think it was less than a month he landed a position. I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to get trained and certified so then I can feel confident about charging for my services. And develop that.
Because before this, you were a recruiter?
Yes, I was a recruiter. I worked for an agency, placing people on contingency, which means I work 100% commission. And I worked placing sales, marketing, advertising, and creative interactive type professionals. Mostly I worked with advertising agencies, high tech, some financial services, but if it was financial services, it was in their interactive department.
Now, so forgive me for my ignorance. So as a life coach and a career, I've heard of life coaches before, but not a career coach, I guess. I don't know. And you said that's something you had to get licensed for?
Yes. Well, right now, coaching is not only the fastest growing profession, but it's an unregulated industry. So anyone can just hang a shingle and call themselves a coach. One of the reasons why I started the radio show was to educate the public the difference between someone who's certified and someone who is not. So there is a few organizations attempting to be the governing body. One of the first and well-known is the International Coach Federation. So if you're looking to hire a coach, you want to make sure that they have been trained and certified, because sometimes it can be damaging to, in many different ways. In working with someone who just, they've been out of a job, maybe they've been in human resources, or they've been in some type of consulting position, and here's my sign, I'm a coach now.
Right. So you actually went and got certified?
Trained and certified. I'm a professionally trained or professionally certified coach. I've been trained as a career coach, and I've been trained as a life coach. What I find is that sometimes what happens in your career affects your life and vice versa, and there are patterns that you see within people as they may be finding the same types of environments or the same type of job. And coincidentally, their boss sometimes very related to their spouse. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So how long have you been a coach?
8 years.
8 years. Okay. And I love that, Coach DQ.
Yep, Coach DQ, and I say DQ for do it quicker with a coach.
Oh, that's cool. But it's also your initials.
It is also
How
my
do I
initials.
pronounce your last name, Dawn?
Quesnell.
Quesnell. It's also my kid's favorite place. DQ.
Yeah, you'll never forget it, and that's what
Exactly.
people say.
That's why when I was emailing Joe, I'm like, so Coach DQ, right? Like, I am reading this correctly. But I'm sure you must have heard that.
Well, it was funny because I was in a networking group and there was another Dawn. And so one of the guys said, well, that's okay, we'll just call you Coach DQ. Well, Dawn was Dr. Dawn. And the funny thing is that people still now call me Dr. Dawn.
Oh, really?
Still get confused.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Even though you had the DQ, I would think that would stick.
Right, right.
So it's very fascinating. It's very interesting. Are you find yourself, since you started 8 years ago, getting busier?
Yes, I mean, certainly there were some waves, but I have to say I was really thankful during the recession to have a really robust practice.
Yeah.
And it's because I practice what I teach, and that I'm out there networking, that I'm constantly, there's a balance, and this is what I do with my clients who are business owners. There's a balance between working on and working in the business. And the bridge applies also to the business owners, because a lot of times they're not clear either and haven't researched or identified their target market.
Mm-hmm. Now, for someone who doesn't know, what kind of expense is it to hire a career coach or a life
Well,
coach?
it can range. Now, if you're working with someone who's in training, you might be able to get something that's lower, but again, you get what you pay for. So for career coaches, it can be anywhere from, say, $350 to $1,000 and onward for either a month or a package. It would vary, and it also varies on the level of the person and are we including writing your resume and cover letters, and each person is unique, but it is an investment. But when you consider that if you're making you're targeting a salary that's $80,000 a year, divide that by 12, that's how much money you're losing on the table. It's a minor investment, and I would say the ROI, or return on investment, and the research done by the International Coach Federation and PricewaterhouseCoopers, which was an outside firm that conducted this research, is that coaching has about a 400% return on investment.
Wow.
Yeah, it's astronomical. And let's say, for example, that person that I was saying that was underpaid, she ended up getting about a 73% increase in salary from leaving jobs. And then I had another gentleman that I've been working with in New York, because I work both in person and over the phone and use Skype. So I work with people across the country and in different time zones. So this person came to me, he was at about a $40,000 job. Now, over the years, he's been able to, now he's at 100 plus. Now he's only switched jobs twice, but in the last 5 years, he's been at this position and is now at a job search again. So when you take into consideration that is about an 80+% increase over, let's say, this would happen over a 3-year time period. What's that worth to you?
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's pennies.
And like you said, doing it quicker. If you're spending that much less time out there unemployed and looking and searching and banging your head against the wall, as I know many people were out there, and I was for a year and a half. So it kind of goes as like a package. It's not like an hourly rate.
Yeah, the only thing that I do hourly is, one of the things that I love is people can hire me on an hourly basis, or what I call one-time basis, for interview coaching. So I've been doing a lot of interview coaching. Salary negotiation coaching, which, like I said, is one of my favorites. I love to, let's strategize. How are we going to negotiate? What are some things that, are little to no cost to the company? What are some things that are,